known earlier, I could have gotten part of her speech and different things that you guys have questioned about. She was speaking to on yesterday. But Social Security, there's no problem really with Social Security. That's like a smoke screen. Social Security is going to be intact for almost the next 25 years. So now you don't want to wait that long to really do anything about it, but you know it's pretty secure up until that time. There's really no problems there, and it doesn't impact the budget. So all of those smoke screens that are being thrown our way, that's what they are. There's really nothing to do about Social Security directly right now. Another thing that she spoke about is the Medicare portion and Medicaid. Now, she did say that the governor is in favor of the expansion, so he's on board with the expansion. So that's one thing that we can applaud the governor for. I don't know of many others, but that's one thing that he is in agreement to. And how the CPI being attached to some of the safety net features, she opposed that. She voted against any increases or anything in regards to that. So she's voted down a lot of the things that would impact the seniors, the students directly. And I could read, some of the other things that she's done, but those are some of the things that right off the top of my head I can tell you that she is going to support and she's going to fight for. One thing I know about the Congresswoman, and I'm really glad to be working for her, is because she is a fighter. She is really concerned about the people. She serves the people that put her in office, and she legitimately does that. It's not lip service. It's, she has the heart of the people. She carries it every day with her. And if you ever see her speak or hear her speak for any longevity, that will come through. Whether her speech is prepared or not, the truth that resides within her, the passion, is going to bleed through because that's who she is at the core. And she does care about our community, and she will be around. Right now she's juggling 3 different schedules. So, and she's trying to balance that so that she is not neglecting us here in Summit County. So she will be around as her schedule permits, and she is concerned. And I'm glad to be here to hear all this because I took real good notes, and I'm going to take them back and make sure that it's communicated about your needs. And the unions and the things that everybody said, it's so true. And the needs are there, and we need to do some things about it. Another thing I learned is, from the federal government standpoint, monies are given to our state, and the state allocates those funds out, and a lot of times it's not going to the people in the state that have the need. So that's where you have to make your voices heard. You have to write, you have to do petitions, you have to march. I say march sometimes, and that's my personal opinion. That's not the Congresswoman. But whatever it takes, and almost like any means necessary. If you have to march, if you have to go to Washington, if you have to go to the State House, do it. That's all they understand. Writing, marching, volume. I can't tell you enough. And she petitioned the people to make their voices heard yesterday. You have to, because once those funds are released to the state, their hands are off. It's up to us. It's up to us to make sure those funds are allocated appropriately, and if they're being misappropriated, it's up to us to let them know that the funds are not going to the services that they have been rendered to go to. So those are some of the things. If you want me to read from this list, I can. Our office is right here in the community. We are housed at the Summit County office is housed on the 2nd floor of the Lawton Community Center. That's where I am, and I right now have a part-time staffer and looking for some interns as well. But that's where we are, and we're more than happy to serve you in any capacity that we can on behalf of the Congresswoman, because that's what we're here for. It's the constituents. That's what my job is to serve the constituents. So thank you, and come see us, and we'll be happy to assist you in any way that we can.
Thank you, Ginger, and thank you everyone else for allowing me to be here with you today for the invitation. I just want to mention a couple things. For starters, for those of you who aren't as familiar with Congressman Ryan, he's originally from Niles, Ohio. He still represents Trumbull County, Mahoning County, and portions of Portage County, but Summit County is the largest county in his district now. We cover a good portion of Akron, Barberton, Cuyahoga Falls, all the way up into Boston Township and Peninsula. The phone number contact on the sheet that they have is for our Warren office, but we do have an Akron office. It's the same office over on Talmadge Avenue, the Job Center, the Title Office, License Bureau. I'm usually there 3 or 4 days a week, and then we have another gentleman named Mark Callion who does a lot of community outreach with community groups. So keep that in mind as you're doing other events, whether they're during the week, evenings, or on the weekends, to make sure that we're included in those as well. The second thing I want to say is just to stress the importance of these types of events. I've worked in government politics for about 7 years now, and as all of you know, at the federal level, when you watch members of Congress on television, on the radio, in the newspaper, it's very easy for them to talk about big themes, high-level types of things. The budget, our budget deficit is out of control, our federal debt is out of control. We need to cut, we need to reduce programs, we need to do everything we can to get our spending under control. Well, at that level, it's very, very easy to say that. The talking points are very convenient. But I've noticed when members of Congress come back to their districts, come back to their states, in the case of Senator Brown and Senator Portman, it's very, very hard to justify some of those high-level policies and to talk about why federal investment isn't good. We're talking a lot about social safety net programs and other social programs, but Congressman Ryan is also very, very supportive and stresses a lot when he's visiting constituents in the district the importance of just general infrastructure investment from the government as well. And like I said, the point that I'm trying to make is the more you have representatives here at these types of meetings and representatives of the representatives, it makes it a lot more difficult for members of Congress to justify the cuts that we're talking about and some of the policies. I'm trying to be very, very polite by not being overly partisan. I really am, because the representatives for those offices aren't here and they don't have a chance to defend themselves. But again, the point I'm trying to make is, get members of Congress in your district as much as you can, and it makes it very, very hard for them to turn the other way when they hear these stories and to justify some of the policies that they're promoting at the federal level. So again, thank you. It's good to be here. And again, keep in mind that we do have an Akron office, and include us in future events like this. Call us if you have ideas, write letters, email us, and feel free to reach out to me at any time. I live right up the road in Cuyahoga Falls, and I'm happy to hear from you even if you aren't in our district. We have a great relationship with Congresswoman Fudge's office. Marcia and Tim are really good friends, same with Senator Brown. So we're pleased to help you when we can. Thank you.
I guess primarily I want to say thank you to all of you who came here to share with us and for us. And I hope you realize how fortunate you are to have representatives like Marcia Fudge and Tim Ryan and Sherrod Brown. Just the other day, Sherrod said something, and he says this a lot, and I thought about it when the pastor was speaking and he used the phrase invisible people. It is so true that particularly in the Senate, they don't know people like you. They don't realize that people like you and me really exist. It's very easy for them to kind of insulate themselves and forget about the real struggles that people have. And, it's difficult sometimes to understand the debate over the federal budget. It is really complicated, but you understand it. You understand what people need, what they have to have, what they want, what they have to have. And again, like the others who have spoken, I encourage you to lift your voices. They need to realize that you do exist. And your advocacy is so, so, so very important. And your willingness to speak out. I mean, that's obvious by the fact that you're here. So thank you for that as well. The senator was just talking the other day about the SNAP program. You know, there are real efforts to cut food stamps during the debate on Farm Bill, which is just hard to believe, but it's a very strong movement. And in a Congress where so many members are skeptical about government's role in society, confronting all of the challenges that you face becomes even more difficult. So I hope you will join Tim and Marcia and Sherrod and other members who are fighting the good fight in reminding your elected officials, their colleagues, your neighbors, that there's a difference between cuts based on ideology and sound economic policy. WIC programs, as you know, are not pathways, not just pathways out of poverty, but they're critical in stimulating the economy. We know school lunches and early education investments are down payments on our future. We know turning Medicaid into block grants would shift costs and risks and undermine the health of millions of Americans rather than reduce budget shortfalls. Investing in our most effective anti-poverty programs ensures a shared recovery for all of us. I know you know that. I just want to remind you to talk to those who weren't here today in any way you choose. You're not invisible to so many of us, but you are invisible to some. Keep up the good fight. Thank you for all you do.
I just want to say one thing and just bring this to reality. When she talked about SNAP, they want to cut approximately $60 billion from that program. Just imagine how that would devastate our country. $60 billion from SNAP.
Right.
So, I mean, I just want to bring, that to your attention so that you know how serious it really is. It's very serious. And as far as Medicare, I want to just say in defense of the president, he is open for conversation about that. We are a part of a very dysfunctional federal government. I mean, they're very dysfunctional. The two, it's hard for the two entities to sit down and just have a general discussion. So we're dealing with that and all of these other issues that are going on. So it's critical that you continue to do what you're doing and to make your voices heard. Like I said, I just couldn't let that go. $60 billion, that's quite a number.
A cut and SNAP is the equivalent of what Stalin did in confiscating grain. Remember that? Mm-hmm. Millions of people died because they confiscated food. Cut and SNAP is the same thing.
Thank you, Gary. You're right.
Communism.
Okay, we got one more quick thing, and then Greg Colwich has two little announcements, and John Fuller will give closing remarks. And first of all, I'd like to thank the representatives that came, listen to all the people. They're not invisible. Thank you. I can't thank you enough.
I want to kind of tell a happy story. First off, really, thank you very much. I've never been invisible to Senator Brown. I was never invisible to Betty Sutton, and Congressman Ryan knows me as well. And one time I was not in his district, now I am. And Marcia Fudge was very gracious when I met her as well. So you're working for, and Ginger, I'm very happy you're working for her. I just want to tell some really happy stories. This is very quick. I was registering voters this last election, going door to door, and two stories. I registered a lot of young people, a lot of people who were voting for the very first time. And one young lady, two stories stand out. One young lady, when I came to the door, I said, well, are you registered to vote? And she said, no, I'm not. And I said, well, I can register you right now. She got a big happy smile on her face. She ran and got her purse so she could get her social security card. She's filling out the form, and when she hands it back to me, she's got this little smile on her face like, I'm registered to vote. So this is a young person, so there is kind of hope. But the best one was a young man who, when I said, well, I'm registering voters, he looks at me, oh, come on in. Looks at his friend and says, dude, we can register to vote, and then we can vote for Obama. Then I got to tell him about Senator Brown, and I was going through it with him, and I said, no, make sure that you fill out this one little part here, make sure that's important. He said, yeah, this part here, dude, and he's like, his friend looked at him like, I can do this on my own. So there was a lot of enthusiasm from young people, a lot of enthusiasm to be able to vote for the first time. So, I mean, we've been hearing some unhappy stories, but I just wanted to say something about a happy story, that there is hope for it, that our youth is enthusiastic about this.
Great stories. Just a couple of quick announcements. First, the video that we saw at the very beginning of Senator Brown, the 2-minute, we will put on our website. And if you signed in and put your web, or I should say email address, we will send a notice to you with that link and would ask you to share that. And if you're on Facebook, do the same. We'll post it on our Facebook page. So some of you, I'm sure, are much more attuned to social media than we are. And so if you're part of the My Twit Face crowd, please spread the word and let folks know about that. Second, the video here was not done just for our own benefit, but likewise is something that we will get on YouTube and we'll send you a link to. And we'll also be sending copies to those representatives who were not able to be with us today. Last year when we did this, we were able to parlay this into a meeting with an aide to Senator Portman. We will try to do that again with Senator Portman and some of the other representatives who are not here today. If any of you would like to be part of those, hopefully, meetings that we have subsequent to the gathering today, please let us know. Third, I just want to use this as the metaphor. Well, first as an announcement. We have lots of these left in the back, okay? We thought the crowd would be a lot larger, and nice weather, I guess, is meant. So help yourself, grab a napkin, gather as many of these as you would like. But there's also symbolism to this donut. As we talk about the federal budget, and it's not an accident why we brought donuts. It's because as you work to fortify the periphery, as we build up our military, foreign military bases, spend all this money building weapon systems to combat who knows what kind of enemy that doesn't exist. And we give all these aids and cut tax breaks to corporations that export jobs. You know, we're fortifying the periphery, but what are we sacrificing? The middle. And that hole is getting larger. So let's transform a donut into, I don't know, next year we'll bring a bunch of, no, bagels at home. Okay. Maybe peaches, right? That's got a hard, solid pit. And that's what we need to build up, that hardness of the middle, and focus on going after the periphery. It's helping ingratiate and profit those, but it ain't the 99%. So grab some of these and think about the symbolism of going out.
Okay, John, you were going to give some closing remarks?
Okay, yes, we are about to conclude our meeting here. Let me just say a couple of things. It was the federal safety programs of the New Deal that propelled the majority of American people into the middle class. You know, FDR looked out over the horizon and saw all those social movements, and he said, before we have a revolution in this country, we need to do something for the people, and that's what he did. Secondly, and I'm going to be partisan, if you look at the policies of the Republican Party, they have done two things. They led us into the Great Depression of the 1920s.
Yeah.
And they led us to the financial collapse of 2007. The policies of the Republican Party. So, if you think that they have a prescription for solving the problems that we're having right now, you're sadly mistaken. And finally, let me conclude by saying Senator Brown quoted Frederick Douglass. You know, Frederick Douglass was an abolitionist who led a relentless campaign to abolish slavery. And he said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, power concedes nothing without a demand. He said the struggle might be political, or it could be physical, or it could be both. So this is the kind of mentality that we have to have as we proceed to try to protect the federal system.
That concludes our program. Thanks everybody for coming. Thank you for our representatives here. And thank you Pastor Butcher and St. Paul AME Church for having us. Thank you very much.